Now it's time to discuss best practices when mapping EDI. The 850 EDI profile is the source profile in your map. The next few slides will address how to map EDI field. There are two methods when mapping an EDI. The first is to use BOOMI Suggest. Now, BOOMI Suggest works, but you need to be very, very careful when using BOOMI Suggest in EDI because many names are unique and you may get too many or too few matches. The most reliable method is to manually enter the EDI values and to compare the system data against the EDI file and map appropriately. I know it's not pretty, but it works. I also want to point out that many systems who map EDI fields, this is the way they work. In my earlier life, before Dell Boomi, this is how we made sure that we correctly map our EDI fields. So before mapping our fields, I want to discuss the Boomi recommended mapping method for anyone who is doing EDI development. We begin with mapping our simple one-to-one field maps, in this case our EDI to database fields, and entering in any default values. Next, we'll focus on the EDI identifier instances, which allow EDI to handle qualifiers. Finally, we will add functions, and we're going to begin with standard functions and then move into complex user-defined functions. I'm going to go through class activity number 2 to map the level 1 source and destination fields. I'm going to go through class activity number 3 to set the default values. Then I'm going to do exercise number 4, which is to update our SQL command, and exercise number 5 to test our process. This begins in your book on page 16 and it goes up to page 19. Typically, when people want to go out and map, they want to use BOOMI Suggest. So if I click on BOOMI Suggest, you're going to see that I have 35 high confidence level suggestions, 1 medium confidence level, and 1 low confidence level. And if you look in your book, what you will see under activity number 2 is that there are 9 fields that we want you to map. And I can tell you that 2 of those fields are not listed in BOOMI Suggest. It is quite a bit of work to go through to get 7 fields. It's more efficient at this point in time if we map these fields manually. I'm going to go out and do the first one, which is BEGO3, which is my customer reference. And I'm going to take BEGO3, and it's also going to go to my pick ticket ID. Now, one of the things I want to point out to you is notice that this field, this BEGO3 field, which is in my source, is going to 2 locations. It's going to customer reference and pick ticket. You can have a source field go to multiple locations, but a destination can only receive from one source. So my customer ref could not receive anything from any of the other source fields. So continuing on, I have my BEGO5 that's going to go to my order date. And I'm going to do one more, my PERO2. PERO2 is going to go to my ship to contact. So I'll come down to this field and I will ship to contact. What I'm going to do is pause so you don't have to watch me map everything. And when we return, I'll have all the fields mapped. Welcome back. I just mapped my final 2 fields, CTTO1 and 2, to total line count and total quantity. I'm going to save. We are going to go into class activity number 3. We're going to set the default values. So we do have a few default values we're going to be setting. The first one is our company key. I'm going to click the drop down and it'll say set default value. We're going to type in a 59. Basically just identifies our class in the database. We're going to do a priority. Priority is going to be set to 1. We have a status field. Our status field is going to be set to 0. We have a warehouse key field. Now be careful, there is one that is warehouse ID, and then there's warehouse abbreviated key, and we're using the warehouse abbreviated key We're going to set a default value there of 2. Now, an important one that we're going to do is we're going to come up and set a user ID field, and please place your first name. I'm going to enter the name EDI Instructor. Now, I've entered in the word EDI Instructor. What you want to do before you click on OK and you save this field is you want to highlight this field and just copy it and click OK. Now we'll click on Save and Close. OK again. The next place we're going to is this program command, which is our SQL statement. What this does is it comes through and it'll delete everything in the order header where the user ID equals the user ID that we passed in. So what you want to do is you want to highlight the word trainer and you want to paste whatever you typed in for the user ID. So in this case, I typed in EDI Instructor. And so now I'm going to click on OK. We're going to save. Now what we want to do is exercise number 5. This is in your book on page 19. We're going to test our process. So we click on the test button, the blue test button. We click the drop down, select the test item cloud, and we click on Run. All right, the process is ran. So let's take a look at the output. What's going to happen is we're going to do our no data start shape, our message shape, we'll do our branch. We'll come up here and we'll delete anything in the database with our name in it. Then we'll come down here, we'll do our mapping. We'll take everything from our EDI profile and we'll pass it into our database profile and then we'll write it to our database. So I come over here, what's going to happen when I come over here, what you will see is that there's actually 4 inserts. We have 4 pick ticket IDs. Everything is based off the pick ticket ID. So we're going to be entering the data into 4 rows. This is our insert statement. Now where it has a caret, that means that a null value is going in there. We do have a couple of values that we are passing in. You can see them. Here's my name, which is EDI Instructor. This is our default company ID, but you can see various pieces of information actually going into the field. And really what you need to do and to get this working is you need to get this to run all the way through successfully, and then you need to get come into your document viewer, see that you have 4 records that are being loaded in, and take a look at them. The only thing that will differ between mine and yours is the user ID. That's the only thing that differs between the two. I'm going to click on Close Document Viewer. Now it's your turn to do class activity number 2 to map the level 1 source and destination fields, class activity number 3 to set the default values, exercise number 4 to update the SQL command, and exercise number 5 to test the process. When we return, we're going to be taking a look at EDI identifier instances.